I'm Linda Conrad, State Regent of the Kentucky Society, Daughters of the American Revolution, and I want to welcome you to the Lafayette Trail Marker Dedication Ceremony here today at the Lexington Masonic Lodge. We're grateful to Alan Martin, Master of the Lexington Lodge No. 1, for allowing us to mark this site today, commemorating Lafayette's visit here. Before we begin our ceremony, Warren Heaton, chaplain of the Masonic Lodge, will bring the invocation.
Great architect of this vast and awesome universe, we come before you in appreciation for the promise that you handed down from Abraham to us today, a blessing of a nation and nations that are going forward, have gone through much, and have much more to enjoy because of your blessings. It is due to men like Mr. Lafayette that gave their lives to service and carrying out your will. So we dedicate this time and our thoughts to that, to the service, and this evening. In your holy and righteous name, amen.
Thank you, Mr. Heaton. I'd like to thank the Masonic Lodge members for allowing us to use this wonderful facility and be indoors. I think we had planned to do that to begin with, but especially since it's a rainy day. So we're very grateful for that and your hospitality. They have been a lovely group to work with, and we appreciate them hosting this and following with refreshments. So thank you. I'd like to acknowledge and thank the coordinator for today's event, Deanna Lanham, fondly called Dee Dee, and I don't know, I saw her a moment ago. She's back there hiding. She's done an excellent job planning and working out the logistics of today's event. Now, I live in northern Kentucky, not here in Lexington, and although I'm a UK grad, it's changed drastically since I was here. So she has been the boots on the ground and had her ear to the ground as to what's going on and what needed to happen. So I'm very grateful for all that she has done to make this a successful event. And she's also very hard worker with the logistics of this event, but she's the chapter regent of the John Waller DAR chapter here in Lexington. So Dee Dee, would you stand please and be recognized? We certainly appreciate all your work. I also want to thank Ann Scott, Dee Dee's mother. She is responsible for printing these lovely programs that we have. So thank you, Ann. We have several guests in the audience today. Sam Terry, one of them. Where is Mr. Terry? I saw him. There he is back there. Author and historian, and some of you may know, but he writes a popular blog called Sam Terry's Kentucky, a daily celebration of Kentucky's heritage enjoyed by more than 30,000 people. And we're honored to have him today. I also want to extend special thanks to John Bizak, the past master of the Masonic Lodge, and Tracy Burnett, senior deacon of the Lodge. Tracy has worked closely with Dee Dee, and we're very thankful for her help. So let's show our appreciation for these folks. Some of you who are not real familiar, perhaps, with the DAR, I want to share with you a little bit about why we are helping to sponsor these historic markers honoring the Marquis de Lafayette and how this all came about. The National Society, Daughters of the American Revolution, our headquarters, of course, is in Washington, D.C. It's an organization whose members can trace their lineage back to a male or female patriot who fought in the war, the American Revolution, or contributed in some way. And we have to prove that. It doesn't just happen, it has to be proven by primary sources. And but as a result of that, as DAR members, we're very proud of those ancestors who helped to be the founders of our nation. And therefore, we have a mission of focusing on historic preservation, education, and patriotism. as a way of remembering our ancestors. As state regent, my administration determined to have a project whereby we would mark the sites in Kentucky where Lafayette visited. He visited multiple places. Actually, I believe Julian O'Shea found 11 at least. When I became the state regent, 3 of those sites had been marked. So we had the possibility of marking 8. Excuse me. We've actually marked 3, and today we will mark 3 more. The other 2, one here in Lexington at the Girls Academy and one in Louisville downtown, we were not able to get the sites. There were complications with the city and state governments and so forth. So anyhow, but we're proud to have done 3, and today we will do 3 more. So we are glad for all the participants who have helped in that. And the reason we're marking these sites, Lafayette came back in 1824, he was 67 years old, on what we call the farewell tour. He was here a little over a year and a half, 1824 to 1825. And during that time, he was known as the nation's guest because the Congress invited and welcomed him here. It was a very divisive country at that time, and he was the last surviving general of the American Revolution. So he was welcomed and loved by everyone. And so he wanted to visit the 13 states, which had been the original colonies. And so here in Kentucky, he made at least 11 stops that we're aware of. So given that information, my state project wanted to help fund the markers. And so we have partnered with Julian O'Shea, and who is the founder and president of the Lafayette Trail. And then we have a third partner, the Pomeroy Foundation, which also helps to fund the markers, and which are placed throughout the state. These markers tell the history of Lafayette's visit, educating the public about the life of the last surviving general of the American Revolution while visiting the country, a young country at that. The information on each of the markers preserves the history of those visits and hopefully inspires a patriotic pride in our country. Today, we dedicate historic markers at these 3 of 11 places Lafayette stopped in Kentucky, one of which was here at the Masonic Lodge. Alan Martin, master of the Lexington Masonic Lodge, will now bring us greetings.
Good morning and welcome to Lexington Lodge No. 1. To our distinguished guests and visitors, on behalf of our officers and members, I welcome and thank you for attending the 200th anniversary of the celebration of Lafayette's National Farewell Tour and visit to Lexington, Kentucky. I will keep my remarks brief, but would like to give you a brief history of Lexington Lodge No. 1 and its connection to Lafayette. Lexington Lodge, originally number 25, now number 1, was first issued a charter on November the 17th, 1788 by the Grand Lodge of Virginia. This charter still exists today and documented on parchment paper can be seen behind me on the wall to my left. On October the 16th, 1800, 8 years after Kentucky's statehood, the Grand Lodge of Kentucky was established, and the lodge was officially chartered as Lexington Lodge No. 1 under the Grand Lodge of Kentucky. This charter can be seen on the wall behind me to the right, and it is that original charter. As of this month, our lodge has met 3,603 times since 1788, bringing men together in friendship and the work of Freemasonry. Our historic lodge holds the distinction as being the oldest Masonic lodge west of the original 13 colonies, and as I just mentioned, is older than the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Its early members were founders of Lexington, and many were later responsible for Kentucky's statehood. While much of our early history has been lost to time and the occasional fire, one thing that we can say with absolute certainty is that since 1788, Lexington Lodge No. 1 has continuously and without interruption operated as a just and legally constituted Masonic lodge with multiple thousands of members from all walks of life over the past 237 years. Richard Clow Anderson served as the first master of Lexington's new lodge. As a colonial officer during the American Revolutionary War, Colonel Richard Anderson served as the aide-de-camp to General Marquis de Lafayette during the campaign against the British commander Cornwallis prior to his defeat at Yorktown. Anderson accompanied General Lafayette throughout Kentucky when Lafayette returned for his farewell tour during 1824 and 1825, and arranged for Masons to host a Masonic ball, dinner, and breakfast for Lafayette at the Masonic Hall in Lexington. Another notable past master of our lodge was statesman Henry Clay Sr. Clay served as master of the lodge in 1820, and later in that year was elected Grand Master of the state of Kentucky. So as we commemorate the 200th anniversary of the celebration of Lafayette's National Farewell Tour and visit to Lexington, Lexington Lodge No. 1 is honored to place one of the 3 trail markers roadside in front of Lexington Lodge No. 1. Again, I welcome and thank you for attending the 200th anniversary of the celebration of Lafayette's National Farewell Tour and visit to Lexington, Kentucky. While visiting the lodge, if you have any questions about any of the lodge furnishings or documents that you see, please feel free to ask anyone wearing a Masonic apron, and we will try to answer any inquiries and all inquiries the best that we can possibly can. Again, thank you for being with us today. We appreciate and we're honored that you are with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. It was good to hear about the history and how that connects with Lafayette, and to think that, you know, you originated out of Virginia, which of course the state of Kentucky did. And so interesting, very interesting information. Eric Brooks, who is Chief Curator of Ashland, would like to bring greetings today and here at the lodge as well. Mr. Brooks.
Thank you, Linda. It's good to be here. I always enjoy coming out to the lodge. We at Ashland have had a long and fruitful relationship with Lexington Lodge No. 1. We've come here and done programs. They've come to Ashland and done programs. But most importantly, about probably 15 years ago now, they discovered a set of Masonic jewels. I don't know if any of the Masons are currently wearing the jewels, but they're the regalia that they wear when they engage in Masonic ceremonies. This set of jewels was coined silver, and it was believed to be the set of jewels in use when Henry Clay was master of this lodge and eventually Grand Master of the State Lodge, which was originally here in Lexington before it moved to Louisville. And so when those were found, we agreed to become custodians of them. They reside at Ashland. Every year in January, we bring them out for the installation of new officers. We exhibit the Master's Jewel, because that's one that Henry Clay wore in the Henry Clay bedroom at Ashland. And at other times, when they are doing special things, we will bring them or make them available. So that's been a very profitable relationship, one that we're really glad that we have. It's a remarkable set of artifacts and one that we're very privileged to exhibit. Although Henry Clay could not make it back when Lafayette came, I know that he would have looked very forward to welcoming him to Lexington, not only as a friend and patriot, but as a brother. Henry Clay was a Mason for nearly 25 years. It was something that meant a great deal to him. It was the platform that launched his career as an attorney and provided him a client base with which he could make the money to ultimately build Ashland and to go on to have a successful political career. So it was very important to him, something that he took seriously, something that he said he would not denigrate in order to become president of the United States. There arose a movement around the time that he started becoming a candidate for the presidency that sought to blame Masonry for the problems of government or to assert that Masons were trying to take over the government. These were patently ridiculous claims, and claims that Clay flatly rejected. And he said, "I will not renounce Masonry if that's what's necessary to become president." We have a marker at Ashland dedicated by the brothers of Lexington Lodge No. 1, and it says that on that marker. So that's how he felt about it. And I'm sure that he would have welcomed Lafayette as a brother. Lafayette, right before he left the United States to go back to France, presented Henry Clay with a Masonic apron that he had worn at the laying of the cornerstone of the monument at Bunker Hill Battlefield. That apron is now in our collection at Ashland, something we're very proud of and pleased to exhibit, and can be seen there on a regular basis. We appreciate you having us today and doing this here. I think it's entirely appropriate, and I'm sure Henry Clay would be very gratified that this is being remembered in this way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Now I want to say a little bit about Julian O'Shea before he comes to the podium. He's a fine young man, fine Frenchman, who hopefully is going to acquire his U.S. citizenship soon. He's working on that. But he's the founder and president of the Lafayette Trail, which we're here to celebrate today as we place this marker. He came to our country several years ago during President Trump's first term of office, and he came with the French President Macron to share Lafayette's story as an important part of American history. He has a graduate degree in geography and digital geography and has done extensive study on the life of Lafayette. He will be sharing some important facts about why Lafayette supported the colonies in their fight for freedom, and why he returned many years later to visit the original 13 states. So please welcome Julian O'Shea.
Thank you, Mrs. Conrad. Hello, everybody. It's wonderful to be back at Lexington Lodge No. 1. I'm very grateful to all of you for attending this incredible celebration today in honor of the bicentennial of Lafayette's visit to Lexington on May the 16th, 1825. I came to the lodge several years ago, actually. I remember Brother John Bizak right over there. I think it was in 2019 or something like that. It was a long time ago, certainly before COVID. And I remember I did one of my first lectures in the lodge here, and I didn't know really the culture very well in America, and everybody was waiting for the program to start, and, you know, what's going on? And eventually, I started the program. So I have good memories at Lexington Lodge No. 1, and I'm just super happy today that this project came to fruition, because this marker will be here as a testament for this incredible day for generations, which is what it's about. It's about educating the American public, the new generations, about this country and its history. I'd like to make my remarks targeted toward Freemasonry and the spirit of brotherhood, which I think is very important. Lafayette was a Mason very clearly. Has a connection with all the Freemasonry in America because of this notion of brotherhood. To me, I find it very interesting that a French aristocrat came to be the embodiment 40 years after the American Revolution of this notion of democratic equality, brotherhood, simplicity, honesty, humility. These are enduring American features that many in France at that time, at the end of the 18th and early beginning of the 19th century, thought that these values had ceased to exist in Europe and could only be found in the New World. And when Lafayette, by being this advocate of these American features, these Masonic features, the French people looked to him as the incarnation of what true freedom ought to be and what a true champion of freedom ought to be, a moral person, not a transactional politician. In my opinion, the key in Lafayette's popularity is because he expressed very clearly in his political discourse very early on this notion that freedom is a transcendent concept. It exists. We all have a right to self-determination. This is not something that a monarch or a king can give and take away from any one of us. And I think the fact that he formalized these universal principles with such clarity and such, let's say it, rigorous discipline over 40 years, to me contributes extensively to his popularity in America because, and I find it super that we have the charter of the lodge from 1788 behind me, because the key in Lafayette and in the United States and the success of the United States is that the American people during the American Revolution have institutionalized these universal principles in a written document, in a constitutional compact a little later, that they have revered as a national catechism. It's not me who says that, it's Lafayette in his own book, in his own memoirs, that he refers to this notion of expressing universal truths as a catechism that the French people should revere as a sacred text. And in my opinion, in the view of Lafayette, the United States was a unique country in the sense that the people of the US have formalized these universal principles and they have stayed true to those principles. Right now we are in 2025, so coming up on almost 250 years, or 240 since the Constitution, close to it. And I think it's a true achievement to the discipline of the American people and to the manners of the American people. This notion of brotherhood, in my opinion, remains central to this day. We're not superior or inferior to one another. We're all brothers to each other. And I think that remains a key feature to ensure the unity of the United States and the American people. So as we celebrate the legacy of Lafayette, I would like to emphasize this word and this notion of brotherhood because, in my opinion, it is key to having a peaceful or a unified country. My country, France, since 1789, we have the same colors, but the colors of the French flag are, the colors of the king surrounded by basically the people of Paris, the blue and the red. And this is very clearly this idea that people have rights and that we should surround our executive with a constitutional framework. This is very American. But unfortunately for Lafayette, this very American notion of democratic equality, American republicanism, devotion to universal principles, discipline over time, the French people will make a choice to veer off that path in 1792, setting in motion, Napoleon afterward, the restoration of the Bourbon, on and on and on, to the point that we are now in our fifth iteration of a republic since 1958. I say that because with this notion of brotherhood, with this notion of equality, of discipline, of believing in superior principles, without losing the moral compass, you can achieve an incredible country with a longevity of 250 years. And at the end of the day, we celebrate Lafayette, but we really celebrate the United States and the incredible achievement politically that this country has accomplished. And the country, yes, but the American people, most importantly, by stating these universal truths and by staying true to them, we are able to have this incredible country, that has been a guiding light for so many around the world as they all fight for their right to self-determination. So this marker will be in a little bit unveiled, and it will be a symbol. Lafayette was big into symbols. We have to understand that as well. We want this to be a symbol for people that will come here, for Masons, for people that will drive by and see the sign. We want them to see this as a point of entry into a story of greatness as a nation, but a story of simplicity as individuals too. And we have to keep these values institutionalized for future generations, that equality is central in America, and people need to understand that. And if they don't, you have a risk. It doesn't mean it will happen, but you have a risk of falling back into European despotism or European manners that the founders here tried to break away from. So it's up to, basically, we all have a responsibility, all of us here, to uphold these principles. And by celebrating the life of Lafayette, I hope we all do that. And I would like to finish by saying a big thank you to the Masonic community here, the Master of the Lodge. Thank you, sir, for having us. I mentioned John Bisak over there for years of collaboration and keeping in touch. And the Kentucky Daughters of the American Revolution, the leadership of Linda Conrad. Thank you, Madam State Regent, for your collaboration, your support, the William G. Pomeroy Foundation. And it's just wonderful to be here with all of you and to write together an incredible chapter of Franco-American history. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Julian, and for your presentation. And now we're ready to do the unveiling.
Should we invite Mr. Lodge?
Yes,
Would you like to join us, sir? Just want to say a couple words about the design. I'm sorry for those that already heard it, but for the Masons, it's great. So blue, white, and red, these are the colors of our two nations. It also means symbolically the role of Lafayette in our two revolutions. So, you know, rigorous discipline to universal principles. In the US, we have the American flag, and in France, the very same message that he laid out with these colors in 1789. The French have had their own path toward institutionalizing freedom, and we thought it was a great way to make that symbolic reference to Lafayette with the design. And then the text, the Lafayette Trail logo, every time you see that on top, it means primary source materials are supporting the marker language. We have the date. We have Lafayette. As much as we can, we put that he's General Lafayette to refer to his democratic service in the Continental Army. In this case, because he did a lot at the lodge. We wanted to pack as much as possible, so we made this language that mentioned that he was honored with a ball and supper at the Grand Lodge and then breakfasted with the Masons the next morning. The name of our partners at the bottom, the Kentucky Daughters of the American Revolution, the William G. Palmore Foundation, the year the marker was approved, so this one is 2025, perfect timing. And then the marker number of our series, we are number 153, and right now we are at 171 counting, so thank you. Welcome to the National Lafayette Trail, and I look forward to seeing the marker installed outside, rain or shine. Thank you.
Thank you, Julian. And I might add, if you haven't seen any of his YouTube videos, Follow the Frenchman, you are missing a treat. They are wonderful. And so, you know, you might look for that. This concludes our program. I hope you all have enjoyed today's event. And again, I want to thank the Masons for their hospitality and for this beautiful facility we're able to meet today.